Stupid Garbage Podcast.
Oh, I like that.
I was born ready, darling. How are you?
Perfect. I'm good.
Move this over here.
I'm rearing and ready to go.
You're rearing and ready to go?
It's rearing.
Is it rearing, you think?
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think it is?
Oh, sweetheart.
It's not rearing.
Okay, so what, besides this,
Stop it!
what do you got for the pod?
Fuck you, now I'm mad.
Okay.
I got nothing, goodbye.
All right. See you later, fuckers.
No, can you tell me for real?
Rarin.
No.
What do you mean no? Why would you ask me?
So anyway, what's up with you, babe? How are things?
I'm just living with someone I'm living with an illiterate.
Mm.
So that's been difficult for me, but other than that...
We do have a lizard, you're right.
I'm living with two illiterates. One of them is an animal, so no rational person would describe them as illiterate, but the other one, I don't know. What do you got for me? How did you like Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico was good.
I took Jessica on a vacation.
He did.
Because she was chatting my ear off about feeling cooped up.
Yeah. It was cute. We went on the vacation and then we were supposed to each pay half, and I was like, oh, just tell me what my tab is at the end, and he was like, fuck it, just don't pay me back, it's fine. So he really did take me to Puerto Rico. It was a dream.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
So we went during the coronavirus pandemic, obviously, which is why we haven't uploaded a new video in weeks. Not like anyone's following, but, you know.
The eyes of the world are upon us. History will vindicate this time waster.
Exactly. So
once this serves as some sort of historical record.
Yeah.
The annals of history.
We went during the coronavirus pandemic.
We'll smile down. Yeah, go ahead.
Which I think you liked a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
It gave you a cool thing to talk about with the locals and something to study.
9:55 in the PM, dear reader.
Do you have any comments about the COVID and how it impacted the people?
Well, so I guess it's difficult to say because I've never been to the Caribbean in any capacity. Certainly never been to Puerto Rico, and so it's difficult to say how much things would have been different, because when we got there, we immediately went to this kind of park area, and there were a bunch of people there and people flying kites, and it looked pretty reasonably crowded.
Yeah.
But besides, there was definitely a lot of stuff. We went to San Juan, and in old San Juan, probably 70% of the, although I don't know, it might have just been because we were there late or on a Sunday, but a lot of the shops were closed.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it was 50% or 75%, I don't know.
I would argue that it was the date and time, because then I think we would walk by our hotel at night a lot, and it was never as
yeah, so
barren. Yeah,
so for those of you keeping track, we went on the 19th of July, and on the 15th. So we were supposed to go from the 19th to the 25th. We did do that. We were also supposed to go spend a day in San Juan, then drive to because we rented a car, because it's everything is fairly cheap there. Drive to the southeast. San Juan's on the north coast, but you can drive north to south Puerto Rico in about 2 hours. I think it's only about 50 miles, but a lot of that is through the mountains. And the roads are, for a lot of not so much the highway, but for a lot of the mountain pass roads, speed limit's around 20 miles an hour, and you can't really speed on them because the roads are very tight. They very, very often, they fit two cars, one going one way, one going the other, side to side, very cozily.
You have to go off-road a little bit.
Some occasionally, and if there's a big truck coming the other way, you really do have to kind of pull over and inch by them. So
yeah.
And you also, again, because it's not even going down a mountain or anything, it's winding through this rainforest, so it's not even like you can see down what you're about to drive. You can see, sometimes you can see 30 feet in front of you, and then there's a hairpin 180-degree turn, so you can't mechanically take these turns.
You're really getting into the driving.
You have the floor. Go ahead.
I was just saying.
No, please. You're right. We're so tight on time. Please.
So what Rob was saying, I think, is that we were going to drive to the ferry and go on to the island of Vader Island? I don't know. We were going to go to...
Vagina Island. And so we were supposed to go, and Puerto Rico was reopening to tourism, international tourism, not that we're international because it's, you know, a Commonwealth of the United States, but they were opening to global tourism on the 15th of July. And then on, I think, the 16th or 17th of July, they said, yes, you can still come, but in addition to opening up tourism, we're also going to go the other way with a lot of measures in that they had a curfew. At one point, it was from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. You couldn't be out of the house.
Did you tell me about the curfew before we went?
No, I didn't want to freak you out.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I had no idea, but I think...
Yeah. Jess didn't know until... We were there for 6 days. Jess didn't know until like day 3 or 4.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Rob told me that they were just opening up on the 15th, but then I Googled it and like tried to find out what opening up means to tourism, and they were... Are you silencing me?
Yeah. So...
Robert! Because we're so tight on time.
No, you're interrupting me. So...
Yeah.
Again, so...
Why you go on rants?
You're right. The floor is yours.
Stop. I'm just saying it's hard to get a word in sometimes with you.
You don't... It's my radio show.
No, it's our radio show.
All right, what do you bring into the pod?
I was literally bringing it.
Go ahead, bring it.
I was saying...
That's what I'm saying, man.
I looked it up and it was very... ambiguous as to what opening up actually meant in terms of like practicality and what...
Like ambidextrous.
How hard would it be?
Left and right-handed.
Can you stop? Like,
or like an animal that can be on land and sea, amphibian.
Amphibian. So we didn't know how hard it would be to like, you know, wake up and get breakfast, for example. Like we were, you know, we had no idea.
Wake me up inside.
Can you stop?
Yeah, go ahead.
And like one of our hotels, we were supposed to get breakfast included, and they were like, oh, by the way, the country isn't letting any hotel serve food for some reason. So there were like a lot of the rules
Which was bullshit.
A lot of the rules were
not
really...
true.
It was true.
We got breakfast at the second hotel.
Stop, you're right. Well, that was because it was a restaurant.
I'm not so sure.
You know what?
Maybe you're right, but I don't know.
It was weird. We only stayed at 2 hotels, and one of them was like no more buffet. I think it was buffet style food.
That might be it.
So they were like, we are not allowed to serve buffet style food, so like literally no food. And I was like, what? And they were like, we have coffee though. And I was like, fine, fuck it. But anyway, my point is we didn't really know what we were walking into, and even though we tried to research it in advance, Rob knew a little bit more than I did. But...
I knew.
Well, I didn't. Did you know that the food was...
Yeah, no, I knew everything.
Are you kidding me?
I didn't want to ruin your time.
Okay, I'm
glad.
And
figured maybe, I don't know, this is what the tourism board website says, but who knows what the reality will be when we get there.
Straight up, I would have complained the entire plane.
I know. You would have said, let's just not go.
Yeah, I would.
If I can't have breakfast buffets at the hotel, let's not fucking go. What's the fucking point?
Well, also, like, we went to a resort, and I was only excited to go in the pool because I hate the beach, and they decided that they were going to, like, the pools in the entire place were closed, too. So
Just went in the pool anyway. More than once.
I just wanted to go under the fountain, and I did. And I was like, this is fine. And I got my stupid Instagram selfies in the pool.
You say they're stupid, and you take 1,000.
Oh, no, I need to do it. It's so funny. Yeah, that's
so anyway,
a rant for another time.
Okay. Right, you are correct.
I was shushing myself already.
It is a rant for another time. Well, then we're in agreement. So, Jessica, before we went... Up until I think it was up until the 30th of June originally, then they extended to the 15th. In Puerto Rico, there were curfews from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. You couldn't be out of your house.
That's too early.
Nothing was open except grocery stores and pharmacies and maybe restaurants for takeout. I don't really remember. But everything was closed, and they had it so that if your license ended in an even number, you could go out on even numbered days, and if your license ended in an odd number, you could go. And so
that's like dystopian.
It was pretty crazy. That's some of the more hardcore lockdown measures, besides China, which literally didn't let people leave their houses for a month. That's the most hardcore measures I've heard of.
Yeah.
being implemented. Although I think in parts of Spain they had some pretty hardcore stuff too.
I wonder
where kids
how
weren't allowed out of the house or
enforced
something.
it was, though.
The woman who I spoke to told me about this. Said, "Yeah, no, they had police checkpoints, and they would pull people over. They would
We
give you a
saw
fine."
that actually. I'm pretty
We
sure
did,
we
as
saw
we were-
something like that on the
As
way
we were
back from the
leaving, we saw
airport.
some sort of police checkpoint. But
It was so cool.
so yeah, it's interesting that it's one of the more hardcore measures that I've heard of, and it's, I mean, happening in the United States. So
Kind of.
But so yeah, anyway, as the 15th they were supposed to open the doors to tourism, and they were supposed to pull back all of the curfew stuff, but they did not. I think they had for a couple days, and then they reapplied it so that it went from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. and you couldn't buy alcohol after 7 p.m.
So that's what it was that when we got there.
Yeah. When that went out, whatever, the 17th, and we got there the 19th. So.
Which I have
And
to
then
say,
they re-implemented a lot of those measures on the 26th, which was the day after we left, which is like a week after, 10
was
days
crazy.
after they rolled them out.
we literally, when we were leaving our resort for the airport to come home to New York, we literally, like, they were boarding up our hotel
Yeah, they were covering
signs
the sign with some tarp or
so
something.
that you couldn't, I'm assuming you'd think that they were closed, because I think they were straight up closing.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And
The
when
woman
we
who
were...
gave me the massage was like, yeah, like, I don't know what to do, like, I'm losing my job in a week. I was like, what? And she's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, we're closing the hotel down. I was like, oh.
Yeah. And we got there the 19th, and we were looking at a lot of other places because we kind of booked this. We booked this in, 2.5 weeks or something.
Yeah,
we booked this whole trip
we were supposed to go to Europe
from
and then
the 1st of July to the 19th.
Yeah, they closed
when we left, so
Europe
less than 3 weeks.
stores to the U.S., so we were like, we have to pivot. We can either not go on a trip, or we can go where?
To Puerto Rico, to the Caribbean. So we were looking at a lot of other places,
Yeah.
and so we chose Puerto Rico, and I think the 20th or the 21st, the second or third day we were in Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, a lot of the Caribbean islands either stayed open throughout or rolled back a lot of there on the 15th or whatever, the 1st of July, said, yeah, tourists can come, because a lot of these islands, Puerto Rico is part of the United States and they have some economy, but a lot of these islands are 30% tourism based, and 90% of that is people from the United States. Like Jamaica, the Bahamas, some of these smaller islands like American Virgin Islands are just, tourism is their entire economy.
Isn't it the U.S. Virgin Islands?
Yes. It's part of the United States, just like Puerto Rico. So,
No, but I've never heard someone call it the American Virgin Islands.
yeah, I think they're interchangeable. Maybe I'm wrong. American Samoa, maybe.
I don't know.
But Samoa, as people in Samoa call it. But, so anyway, all these places had stayed open, but then the Bahamas on the 20th or 21st, while we were in Puerto Rico, they said, yeah, no, just kidding. You're not allowed to come here anymore. So they really shuttered really quickly. And I mean, I think,
everything
presumably
happens
if you're
so
still
fast.
there, you can stay there until your flight leaves. But I would have been, very concerned
Sure.
if we had been there for day 2 on our 6-day trip. They'd said, yeah, you're
Yeah, we're done.
you're not really allowed to be here. And I'm sure a lot of the stuff would have been closing. Like a lot of the tourism-based stuff would have been closing.
Again, like I was saying, even if like all the breakfast places closed, I'd be like, what do we do?
Right.
Like,
So-
we can't even eat.
So we were supposed to, we had, and by we I mean me, had to do a lot of pivoting to do this trip to begin with, but
Excuse
then
me.
we were leaving
I did some stuff.
noon on the 19th, and on, I think the 17th, so Friday before we left on Sunday, less than 48 hours, they said, oh yeah, that island, Viquez, that you're supposed to be spending a day and a night at, and you've booked a hotel there, no, you're not, the ferry's not operational anymore.
I'm so glad that
no
you
one is
checked.
allowed to go to this island, which, is... What do you do if you live on... Because this island's a teeny tiny... It's like 2 miles long.
Yeah, I wonder if
It's
they're getting
very,
shipments
very small,
of
and
resources.
Right, it's a 40-minute ferry ride, or even faster by plane, is what the travel guides say. But no one really goes by plane, because
Why would
it's a
you?
40-minute ferry ride, and the ferries run every hour or hour and a half.
That's weird.
And it's a $2 ticket. So anyway, but if you can't, I mean, maybe it's just for nationals can still use the ferry. I don't know. It seemed to indicate ferry services are non-operational. So that I figured that would be scary for these people living on this tiny, tiny island off the coast of an already fairly small island. But they said, yeah, no, you're not unless it's emergency services, you're not getting to this island. So,
Crazy.
so yeah, we had less than 48 hours to say, okay, so let's figure out what we're supposed to do here. But all things considered, even not all things considered, this was fantastic. Puerto Rico,
time.
I'd like to be buried there. I was named after Roberto Clemente, who is from Puerto Rico, and I think there must be some cosmic reason for that, because there's definitely no rational reason for it, because Roberto Clemente spent his entire career playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Neither of my parents have ever lived in Pennsylvania in any capacity. My mother doesn't really care about sports, but I think she grew up in suburban New Jersey, so I think they were Mets fans or maybe Yankees fans. Who cares? And my dad grew up in the Boston area, so he was a Red Sox fan. Neither of my parents are Hispanic at all.
It was a weird choice.
And also, they didn't even name me Roberto. They named me Robert, so I don't... It's not Roberto. It's not even the same. So it's very strange.
Again, you're their eldest son, so
I don't understand.
Care.
I'm not named after my dad's dad or my dad's older brother or my mom's
or
oldest
even just
brother.
a name that they liked that was not completely random.
I just think they were... I don't know. They must have just had a lot of girls' names.
Yeah.
And thought, well, let's figure something out. And then maybe there's someone had a baseball... My middle name is Marx. And people always think it's after Karl Marx. People always say, oh, your parents was your dad Russian or your parents communists or something? No, I was named after the Marx brothers, Groucho and Harpo and Zeppo.
You have
because my parents
throwaway names.
Yeah, no, I know.
Garbage names.
No, I know. My brother, Greg Corner, dear reader, my parents were maybe after me, they thought we got to get better at this naming thing. They decided they had a whole list of names for Greg, and they picked their favorite one, and his middle name is my mother's grandfather's name.
Yeah.
I
what a normal
am named after, right.
Yeah.
So they picked a name that they liked.
Yeah.
And then picked some family name.
Yep.
I was named after a Pittsburgh Pirates player who died, I don't know, 22 years before I was born. And then my middle name is after the Marx Brothers because they couldn't think of a middle name and said, you know what, let's just watch TV. We'll come back to it later. Turn on the TV in the hospital. And the first thing that came on was a Marx Brothers movie.
Also,
so they thought, oh, that's great. I'm surprised they didn't say Groucho.
Here's the thing. They named you, they had the common sense to be like, we want to name him Roberto Clemente, but let's do Robert because,
Sure, let's drop the O because he's white as hell.
Yeah, but why wouldn't they name you Mark?
Yeah, no, it's good.
Why do they keep
See,
Marks?
that's the thing that comes to me too. When they said we turned on the TV, and if it had been, if they had turned on like
Three
Ben,
Stooges.
if they had turned on Ben-Hur and they went, Ben, that's a nice name. I would have been like,
Yeah.
okay, I get that. But you turn on the TV, and the first thing you see is Marx. Change the channel. You don't have it. You don't get to go Eureka.
Try again.
That's it. That's nothing.
Yeah.
Like, what happened if a Prozac commercial had come on? Would you have named me Prozac? What the fuck? Mark, just because it's the first thing you see doesn't mean you get to just pick that.
It's like one of the weirdest things about you that's just so, stupid.
Yeah. It's great, though, because...
matter.
It's great because people... I've made a little game of when people ask me my middle name, which doesn't happen that often, but whenever people ask, I'll say, it's 4 letters, starts with an M. And then they obviously guess Matt, Mark, Mike, nope. And then I say it's M-A. And then I'll usually say it's M-A-R, and people still never get it. And they usually go Mara, Marb, Mark, Mard, Mare. They just go alphabetically, and then they just give up by the time they get to, Q. They go, Mark with the Q, it's not that, forget it. It can't be any of this. So no one ever gets it. No one's ever successfully...
Again, Mark with a Q would be like, all right, we're going back to the
I give them the
Hispanic.
first 3 letters and tell them it's only 4 letters, and no one has ever guessed it. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's weird as hell, but here we are.
It's just such a,
So maybe
anyway.
our next trip can be to the Marx Brothers birthplace. What? Probably Brooklyn?
No, I will literally never go to Brooklyn
I'll
again.
look it up. You've been to Brooklyn at least half a dozen times.
I know, and I hate it.
The aquarium is in Brooklyn.
Oh, I guess we have to go again.
Groucho Marx.
But anyway, I also enjoyed Puerto Rico. Thanks for asking.
Julius Henry Groucho Marx.
Okay.
Born in New York
Do you
City.
think they can
Oh,
hear me at all?
genius. Who?
You're
The
so much closer to
podcasters?
the
Yes.
camera. I mean,
Yes.
whatever. All right. while you're looking that up, Puerto Rico is fantastic. I'd never been to a rainforest before, and when I was a kid, my entire room was
I was born in Manhattan. All right.
Okay.
Pardon me.
My entire room was modeled after a rainforest, and I like had ivy hanging from the ceiling and stuff, and I was like really getting into it. We had like a probably super expensive, but we had like a huge mural on one of my entire walls, and like I'd never actually been to the rainforest, so going to an actual rainforest was the highlight of my life.
Yeah. It was great. It was a fun time.
It was fun. And again, I agree with you. Like, even, not even all things considered. Like, I think, even if you'd wiped my memory that COVID was a thing, I still would have been like, oh, we got to go to a really cute shops, and we got souvenirs, we got to go to really nice beaches, we got to drive around the country.
It was wonderful.
Like,
I'd like to be buried there. I also...
And we have, like, I would still, like, all the things on the island. Like, there was a bioluminescent bay, which would have been really cool. There was a black sand beach, which...
Hence the island we were going to.
That's what I said.
Did you?
I thought the island that we were going to go to had the bioluminescent beach. It had a black sand beach. It had, I think, like a pink sand beach or some shit. I don't know. We went to that. It had some shit. So I would like to go back, and I think that was the only thing that COVID really took from me. But
You're so cute.
We got to go to a hotel that was like 80% off.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
And you know, even if COVID, I was like, oh, we should go back to Puerto Rico and do it again. It's like, we're not going to be able to do it like that again. Like, we're never going to be able to afford a hotel that was that nice. So it was actually kind of like, it felt more luxurious versus like, oh, we're going to make the best of this pandemic.
It was a nice little treat.
Yeah, it felt like a vacation.
Yeah, it was half off, and they gave us every other night off, so it was 75% off.
Yeah, it was fucking crazy.
And then they didn't charge us the resort fees because the pool was closed, and Jessica went in it anyway. And so...
For like 30 seconds, but still.
Well, and so...
It was just, when the pool is the same temperature as the air, like, how can I not go in it? It's just like, you're literally like falling into a cloud. It's just the best feeling in the world. I love pools, oh my god.
You like to swim.
I like to swim.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. It was also extremely easy to... The flight, at least from New York, I don't know about all you fuckers on the West Coast, but from the East Coast, from New York, we're pretty far north, it was about 3 hours. We didn't have to change time zones. Yeah. We didn't have to change currency. We didn't have to go through customs. We didn't have to bring, an adapter for outlets or anything. We might as well have gone to Florida, except it was very exotic, and my Spanish actually came in handy, which is great.
I was going to say the language was the only thing that I would have been worried about, because I don't speak any Spanish.
Yeah, but you were with me.
Yeah.
I had to use Spanish a few times. The first time...
For the other fuckers that are listening, maybe they don't speak
Spanish. Fuck those fuckers. The first time was in JFK, but yeah, besides that,
wow.
Used Spanish a few times, which is great, because I've never really had to. We went to Spain, but the only time I spoke Spanish was to ask some guy where a museum was, and he said he didn't really know. So it was kind of useless. But
we just asked a random man who was smoking a cigarette on his balcony. That poor guy.
Well,
like, hey.
we were supposed to be a block away, and he presumably lived there.
Yeah.
So
how he did,
because he was on his balcony. I'm assuming.
Literally like behind his. Like, I think we went behind.
Yeah, it was
him
on
and
the corner of the block we were on.
Yeah.
That'd be like if someone asked us how to get to the end of our street.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you know that stoplight at the end of the street? How do you get there? And I said, I don't know.
Unless your Spanish was so
I can
terrible
see
that
it.
he couldn't understand you.
No, it was not. I said,
also,
"Donde está?" And then I asked for the name of the museum,
yeah, I guess,
which I don't remember now. I think it was the Picasso Museum, but it might have been the chocolate one.
Recognizable even in English.
Picasso
is a name.
It would be like if you lived on Liberty Island and someone asked you how to get to the Statue of Liberty, and you said, "Oh, I don't know what that is." It's the thing that you live in.
Oh, that man.
You're the groundskeeper of this island. Yes, you do know how.
He also, if I remember correctly, wasn't wearing a shirt or something.
No, he was. He was wearing a shirt. He was just a normal guy.
I remember him being shirtless and smoking a cigarette.
He was smoking. He was not shirtless. But, yeah, it was...
It's like there was a guy at this one that was also on his balcony in the resort, and I couldn't speak Spanish, but he was telling me that I wasn't allowed in the pool, and I was like, what?
Huh?
So, anyway, all these Spanish speakers
just
shouting from the balcony.
Anyway is right. So, it was a lot. Don't hit me.
Don't be mean to me.
You're a crazy person. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I did.
Jessica got a cocktail.
In a pineapple.
That
we literally, I think we tried to get it. Like, that was my one goal for going on this trip. I had very low expectations, and it turned out to be a lot harder than I anticipated. And we got it on, like, I think the last day of the trip.
That is correct.
Second to last day.
No, it was the last day.
It was great. Well, it wasn't like the morning of leaving. Yeah, it was the last full day of our trip. And Rob had to do it for me because I couldn't find it.
Yeah, Jessica can't do anything, but that's okay. She's my sweet baby.
I don't know why it was so difficult for me.
No, you can't ever do anything.
I looked up like cocktail in pineapple, and all it gave me was like the
sweetie,
best pina colada.
You can't ever do.
I just don't get it. I don't get it.
stuff.
I can do things. I'm a capable adult.
No.
You just like to feel better than me.
No, I would.
Gets you
It
off
would be. It definitely does
to
not
feel
get me
better
off.
than everybody
No,
else.
man, it's burdensome.
No.
For you to say for you to come to me crying, telling me you've been searching for half an hour for a cocktail and a pineapple and can't find it, and make me have to do it on penalty of you throwing a tantrum. It is not fun for me.
I couldn't do.
Okay, so anyway,
all the time, forever.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. We went to see a castle.
The company.
That was the first thing. That was the first thing that we did. No, you're wonderful. That was the first thing we did when we got there. We saw this castle, and which
right
had
off
been
the plane.
Which had been defending. Yeah, it was a good addition. Defending the port of San Juan for 500 years, and some of these buildings that we passed a church many times that was, I think, the first or second church in the New World, and
I did not know it.
No.
Like every time we passed it by, we were just like,
yeah, we didn't know until later.
We didn't know
it housed houses Ponce de Leon's body, and which I figured would be back somewhere in Europe, but he was the first governor of Puerto Rico, so, and also had maybe kind of discovered the American supercontinent, and allegedly spent his later years searching for the Fountain of Youth, but that's likely not true at all. So. It was a good time. It was a lot of fun. Old San Juan was very cute, and a lot of the buildings were from the 1500s, and it was old cobblestone streets. It was very...
Like Europe?
Yeah, very European, and I saw a pink parrot, and...
What?
Yeah, and...
When?
I told... So anyway...
When? Tell me now. Tell the readers. Why are you shushing me?
Because I'm talking. So... it was a lot of fun. We saw a mongoose in the rainforest, and Jessica got a lot of big leaves, which she was really excited about, and brought them home on the plane. She brought them in a bag. Some of them were 4 feet tall. And we went in a cave. Jessica had a lot of fun there. There were 2 dogs that came with us. Jessica's being a spoiled little bitch right now, but...
I don't like it when you go, I'm talking right now.
I was talking.
I know, but the way that you...
Because when I say please stop, I'm talking, you don't shut the fuck up.
Why can't I ask you? Why is it so annoying that I'm asking you where the parrot was?
Because I'm in the middle of talking about something else.
But then why can't you address it when you're done with it? Why can't you be like, okay, I'll tell you in a second?
Because I told you and you didn't listen to me. I told you when it happened and you didn't listen to me.
You never told me.
Yeah, okay.
I never don't listen to you. I might just not hear you.
What does it matter? What does it matter? What's the difference?
Because I never don't listen to you.
I don't know what to do with that. So we went to Puerto
on
Rico.
On the flight, you're allowed to have one personal item,
an effect, if you will.
You're allowed to have like a suitcase or the like, and a personal item. So Rob had his suitcase, or Rob had like a little duffel bag and his laptop. That was his personal item. I had a backpack and a handbag, which was my personal item. And then I had my leaves. And Rob is like, Jess, you can't bring these leaves home. There's no way they're going to let you, like, you can't
there's no way. I said,
you were like, this isn't going to work. And I was
said,
like,
Robert, if they tell you got to get rid of the bag, I don't want to miss the flight because you're arguing with the TSA.
I know. And I was like, Robert, trust me, I've been on a plane before. I got this. And literally, they never care how many bags you bring, ever. They just don't give a fucking shit. So I was like, hey, man, I have a bag of leaves. And they were like, hey, your bag of leaves are good to go for some reason. Even though, like Rob said, one of them was like 4 feet tall. And
they were sticking out. And I would think...
They were like sharp.
I would think that obviously they came from the rainforest because there's no other place they could have come from. I would think they would say, hey, you can't take leaves out of the rainforest. You can't just take
well, no, they
our
could have
flora.
Been from anywhere. Yes.
Okay, but
where? From the resort.
I mean, realistically, where would they have been? And people asked, and you told them they were from the rainforest.
That's true. That's accurate. But
I would think there would be some law about removing, even if it's not from the rainforest. I would think that there's some law or customs policy. I mean, it's not customs, but some policy about not removing flora or fauna native to the island from the island.
It wasn't even like native to the island. I would assume that you're not allowed to bring leaves from anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, maybe because it's part of the U.S.
It was just fucking crazy.
We didn't have to go through customs.
So it was crazy. But they did confiscate... I had a bottle of sand. And they were like, you're not allowed to remove sand from the island, but the leaves are fair game. I was like, okay, whatever. Fucking fine. So that was weird. I'm going to go back and try to find a way to bring sand next time. But,
Put it in your bra.
yeah, so that was fun. Rob apparently saw a parrot. I don't know where.
And you'll never know.
He refuses to tell me because he's petty.
I didn't refuse to tell you. I refuse to tell you again.
He refuses to tell me
because
now.
I am sick of being ignored.
Get over yourself, big baby. And we went caving, as Rob mentioned. We went.
Oh, he did? I'm surprised you caught that.
Our original plan was to kayak, and I was really excited to kayak, and then Rob
through a cave. Even though you don't like.
I know, I hate kayaking, but
you hate kayaks.
I think it's like, you know the way Santorini, like every single time you see pictures of people in Santorini, they're wearing these like flowy dresses in front of those like blue and white dome things.
Churches, yeah.
So I'm like, that's Santorini, like that's what Santorini is. So like when I see people caving in water, it's always kayaking. So in my brain, it was like, that's the experience, and I'm not gonna not.
But you don't like kayaks.
It doesn't matter, Rob. It doesn't fucking matter.
It's the dumbest thing.
No, it doesn't fucking matter, you
That's
idiot.
so stupid.
You're a fucking idiot. So
okay, well, I'm the idiot who enjoyed caving in an inner tube.
No, and I loved it, but we were in fucking inner tubes like fucking school children.
What the fuck are you talking about? No, man.
Inner tubes are for sledding. It was weird, but it was us and like another group of 4 people.
3 people.
Whatever. And the tour guide was like a local. He was super, super adorable. And yeah, the dogs came with us, which was really exciting.
Yeah, they loved Jess.
They did love me so much. I loved them. We were best friends. But the dogs like did the entire hike with us, like through it was a hip deep creek that was like, the current was really strong. I don't know how those dogs did it.
What?
I could barely do it.
They have 4 yeah, but you're a little baby. They have 4 legs.
That's crazy. Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
It's
more their mass.
They ran across it very easily. Well, right. They're lighter and have less muscle. First of all, the dog's probably stronger than you, specifically you, pound for pound.
Sure, okay.
Those dogs might be stronger than you, period. But also, they're so little that there's a lot less water pushing them.
I don't know anything.
Their legs, I know you don't. I'm
also,
telling
there's
you.
More mass, like more of their body is in the creek, so I would assume that it would push them more because it was all of them in there. Versus me, only my legs are in there.
They're still really little, and also they either walked across where it was not deep, or they just swam across.
That's what I said. I wanted to swim across instead of walking across it.
No, okay, but
I could have swam across it.
No, you could. You could barely walk across it.
But I could swim across it.
No, man, it would have pushed you down.
Stupid. Yeah, it would have pushed me like 30 feet. I would have been fine. It would have been fine. It would have been way less embarrassing than having the entire tour group watch me look like an idiot.
You would have drowned.
Oh, and then I thought, oh God, this creek is going to push me to the ground. I'm about to die. So I said, hey, Rob, take my phone.
And you do this every time.
And I threw my phone at him.
As I keep telling you.
You interrupted me this time.
Yeah, because I'm living now.
This is how conversation works.
I'm pissed off now.
This is how I'm always pissed off. I want you to interrupt me. I think it's a healthy part of a conversation to just both contribute instead of just one person ranting. Come on. Robert has turned over in bed and he's now facing the wall.
Don't fucking tell them. They don't get to know. Yeah, you're an idiot. So you're stupid and also dumb. And also every time, because you often insist on throwing your phone to me.
Yeah.
And it's usually you're 8 feet away and I say, hand me your phone for one reason or the other. And you say, here we go. And I always tell you, do not throw it. Because you throw it 100 times and I drop it once.
You always tell me.
And but you don't. You're an idiot. So, but what I do always tell you is if you're gonna throw it, pop it up in the air so that I can get under it because you're shit at throwing things. And what happened, Jess?
I threw it and I hit a girl and then it hit a rock.
You didn't hit a girl. You threw it at the ground.
I thought it girl. It hit a girl, okay.
No, you threw it at the ground and it hit a rock 2 feet in front of me.
Yeah.
You threw it at the ground.
So
it went down.
So my phone screen. It was weird though because everything
wasn't weird.
Well, no,
you threw it at the ground in the river.
Listen, I threw it at the ground. Everything was fine, and then we kept on going about our tour. We held it like you were taking pictures in the actual cave where there was water dripping, and every time you handed the phone back to me, it was like actively wet. So I don't know if it was the water from that because it was pretty wet. So I don't know if it was the water or the being thrown against a rock.
It was the being thrown against the rock.
But about 6 hours after we got home, my phone screen just died.
And Jessica was willing to pull our entire trip to a screeching halt. She said, Rob, we're not doing anything until I find a way to fix my fucking phone screen.
Here, here's the thing, is that the next day was supposed to be beach day, which, as you guys know, as I've already stated, I hate the beach. I fucking hate the beach. So I was like, what am I going to do?
But?
What? But what?
Why do you hate the beach?
Everything about it. The beach sucks.
Why?
The beach is shit. The sand gets
Which you
everywhere.
weren't on, because we had a cabana.
Well, I went to the sand for a while.
The ocean's cold. It was 80 degrees because we were in the Caribbean.
First of all, the beach in Puerto Rico was fantastic. I had a great time.
And
also,
you knew that because we'd already been there.
I know, but I also know that I cannot sit contently on a cabana without having something to entertain me. I luckily had a book of crosswords that did a little bit of the job, but it's much more fun when I can just be at my cabana drinking my drink and also being on Instagram. Like, I need it. I usually need music to tan because literally if you're just lying under the sun, you can feel your skin burning and it hurts. So I usually like to have my phone
That means
distract.
you're getting a sunburn.
No,
you shouldn't have something
no.
distracting you from that.
The second
That should be a warning to go inside.
No, the second I lay down, my body starts immediately hurting.
That's because you're ill. You're chronically ill.
Sure.
That has nothing to do with the sun.
My body was burning while we were at the caves too, and
You had a sunburn.
I got sunburned that day. I did, yes. So
I'm so sick of you.
But I have a beautiful tan.
Yeah, you'll look great.
Yeah. So it was all.
But you're mentally challenged.
Sure.
It's a give and take.
It's hard because I feel like there's truly no other options.
You take. How'd your phone get fixed, Jess?
Robert actually went to the phone people 4 times. Luckily, it was only like a 2-minute drive away, and it was in a mall that, thank God, was open. But he went, and they said, sounds good, no problem, give us the money, we'll do your phone. And then he went, and then he returned it an hour when they were done and picked it up. And then I was like, yay, my phone is back. And then I noticed that the camera didn't work, and I was like, all I'm using my phone for is taking pictures of the beach. So then Rob had to go back twice, because they needed time to fix it again.
Your phone was foggy.
Yeah, it was.
I went to this stupid mall.
Yeah.
It was an outdoor strip mall. I went there 4 or 5 times.
I went there with him once.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I'm pretty sure I had my period, so I was cramping really hard, and my stomach was really bad, and I was on really heavy steroids, so I was also
If none of that had been true, what would have happened?
Nothing would have changed. But I'm saying... it took a lot for me to come with you too, just because I was dying. But
I told you not to come.
I would have come with you no matter what, just for the principle of it. But I wasn't well.
You stayed in the car. The principle is that you're worthless, and one person at a time is allowed to go into the mall, and you don't speak a word of Spanish.
No,
and
I know.
Speak a word of English.
I understand.
I don't understand why you insisted on coming.
I wanted to keep you company. I felt like I should have been there for at least showing the effort of like, you're doing me a favor, and I appreciate it, and I will be with you.
Nonsense.
What
But yeah,
else?
it took because that was our beach day, so we went to the beach cabana, and then I just every hour or so I would just pop out for 10 minutes,
which was fine because you get hot anyway.
It did not. Well, don't speak for me, but yeah, it didn't impede my day. But the point was that you were so I thought you would have left. Like, I thought if I had told you the only way you're going to get your phone fixed is to go back to New York, I would have said, fine, I'm going back 3 days early. Call JetBlue, I'm leaving the 22nd. I'd rather be in New York with my phone than in Puerto Rico without it. Goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. I want to clear it up, but...
No, I think you would have. You were pretty apoplectic. You also, when you were told that you weren't allowed in the pool, what happened?
I went in the pool.
Yes, but before that...
I cried.
You cried.
Yeah.
For 15 minutes straight.
I cried for like 5 minutes tops.
Okay.
Right.
The truth lies somewhere between us.
I sat on the bed with like my head in my hands.
15 minutes?
No. I sat on the bed. I was... Because again, the entire
You acted like
Listen, you're interrupting
the
me.
bellhop who told you that the pool was closed?
Yeah.
Had just given you a telegram that your mother had passed away.
I was... And I really, like, you gave me shit for, like, harassing the bellhop, but I genuinely...
Yeah, you're an asshole.
I wasn't. I was just like, I don't understand why.
Why can't I go in the pool?
Yeah, I just didn't
Is there
feel
any way I can go in the pool?
Yeah, I just wanted to know.
I came here to go in a pool.
Yeah, I was not
cleans the
screaming
rooms.
at him. First of all, I didn't know what his job was. Like, I did not know who this guy was.
Really?
Also, I felt like I was at least nice. Like, I was like, okay, thank you for your help.
Well, you're...
I was nice. I wasn't mean to him.
All right.
I probably asked him too many questions, but I think that's...
This dude who lives on an impoverished island
That's... Yeah,
probably
okay.
makes $8 a day.
Was it entitled? Maybe, but I don't think I was rude or mean. Like, I was just disappointed, and I think I was just asking him too many questions about why the pool was closed, but I don't think I was rude about it.
Oh. And then you cried.
And then I cried, but I wasn't rude to him, and I wasn't, I didn't cry in front of him.
Didn't you?
No, maybe, but that still wouldn't be rude.
I'm not saying that was rude. I'm saying
I wasn't rude. I want to clarify. You
cried, and separately were a brat.
I don't think I was rude, though.
You were rude, is what I've been telling you. Oh, my God. So, anyway, Jessica cried when she thought she couldn't go in the pool.
I want to clarify that the entire reason, again, that we booked this resort was because it had, 6 pools. Resort. I know, but I told you that either we book, a normal hotel that's very much within our budget, or we splurge on a really fancy, fun hotel with pools.
I splurge.
At that point, I was willing to pay for half.
Okay.
I was under the impression that we were each paying half for the trip, and I wanted to go to a place with a fucking pool. That's literally any vacation we go to, that's my one thing. I need a pool.
You don't hear yourself right now?
Is it entitled? Sure. Did I earn the money that I'm spending on these resorts, though?
No.
Yes.
I booked the fucking resort. I paid for all of it. Oh my God. Okay. Are you kidding me?
When we go to the Poconos, we each pay every other year. It's equal.
Who paid the first year we went?
Who knows?
I know, because it was me.
What does it matter?
It matters because when you say, oh, well, I book these resorts specifically because they have pools.
Yeah.
You don't book them and you don't pay for them.
I go... Pick them.
You don't pick them.
Oh my God,
You
Rob,
didn't pick the one in the Poconos.
We have spent
you didn't pick
equal money, and I picked the Pocono ones.
No, you didn't. No, you absolutely did not. You absolutely did not. I found it. I said, let's go to the Poconos. You went, I don't know what that is.
No.
You thought it was a theme park.
No.
Are you kidding me?
You gave me options of which hotel I wanted to stay at.
You had you were surprised by this entire thing. You didn't even know our room had a pool in it.
Yeah, it's true.
So my point is that I booked it, and then you...
I want pools.
Oh my God. My point is that you're not saying, I'm willing to put the money down to get a place with a pool. I do that, and then you say, okay, now that I know that this place exists, I guess if you're making me pay for it, I'll think about it.
Better have a pool.
It was a great trip. It's a lot of fun. Jessica went in the pool anyway.
I just love
Cried for nothing.
Look, I also just, I think, we got there and I planned on spending every second of the 4 days in the pool. So it just seemed like my entire vacation was ruined. I was upset about it. I feel like I had a right to be upset about it. I would cry again in the same,
Please don't cry.
Tell me that our house pool is closed and I'd cry. Just kidding. Dear readers, we rent a tiny apartment. Well, it's not tiny.
You're such an entitled brat.
We rent a normal-sized apartment for 2 people, and, we definitely do not have a pool. I want to clarify. Even if I'm entitled, I'm not living like an entitled person right now. How dare you?
Right, so...
Just because you want to live in a box.
Went to Puerto Rico.
You want to live in a 2x2
And
box.
we had a really good time. And, Jessica, do you have a favorite souvenir?
Fuck you.
That you got, maybe?
My tears.
Your tears from when you cried because there was no pool.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. I got a little round flute, and I got a mortar and pestle, and sent a lot of postcards. I think I sent 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I also got my sister a pair of salt shakers that say Puerto Rico on them, and they're mammy figurines. They're like women in blackface. She's gonna hate them, but that's gonna make me laugh. So yeah, that's I think that's all I got in the way of souvenirs. Did I get anything else? No. Jess got some leaves. We went to the Pink Salt Flats, which were really cool, and those were on the southwest. We also went to Ponce. I think it's Ponce, which is the second largest town or city on the entire island of Puerto Rico, and it's tiny. San Juan is, it's not Manhattan big or Tokyo big, but it's a respectable sized city, and I think 1 million people or maybe even more live there, which is 1/3 the population or so of the entire island of Puerto Rico. Ponce, if you told me Ponce's population was 8,000 people, I'd believe it. I mean, it's tiny. There's a little park in the middle, a square park and a church in the middle of, I guess it's a courtyard. and there's a street on each side of it, as plazas tend to have. So it's a square, and you drive around this maybe 80 by 50, let's say 80 by 80 by 80 by 80 foot square. Let's just say that. And there are little shops lining the opposite side of the park, across the street from the park, and then that's it, right? So there are 15, 20 shops and little tiny restaurants and one church and one very small park, and also a museum dedicated to, and this, whenever you look up Ponce, Ponce, in Puerto Rico, you can Google it if you want. The only thing that ever shows up on any of the TripAdvisor, tourist, whatever sites is the museum. And it's right in the middle next to this church. And it's this interesting looking, the facade at least is interesting looking, and it's black and red. And
it looks a little bit like the Moulin Rouge.
A little bit, yeah. And it's a museum. It's an open air museum, so if you walk up to it, there's no door to go in it. It's just this, like an open garage, and you can see the entire thing. It's 2 stories, and it's maybe on the first floor, it's one room that's, I don't know, 15 by 30 feet. It's not big, and then the second floor is even smaller because
it's very long. It's very rectangular. It's not even
it's
square.
It's really weird, and it's very small, and so the entire.
Open.
Yeah, the entire museum floor space is, I don't know, 700 square feet. And the entire museum is dedicated to the history of firefighting, specifically in the town of Ponce, since I think 1902 or 1908, something like that. So around the last 100 years, the fire department, specifically in this small Puerto Rican town, really.
There's a bunch of...
that's it. That's the biggest tourist attraction.
There's a bunch
of their local
lions,
firehouse, really.
A bunch of lions from a carousel.
Yeah, upstairs.
I don't understand how that could possibly be relevant to firefighting, but...
I think if you... Yeah.
We didn't get to go to the museum, so who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe
but...
it was.
I don't know. I think if you went in and saw every single thing they have, like every plaque and every... Because you could see that there was almost nothing really in the museum on display.
Yeah.
If you read every single display and every single plaque and saw everything, you could do the museum in less than 15 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the bottom floor would take 8 and the top floor would take 5.
I don't think even if it had been open, I would have paid for it. Like, I would have gotten there and been I don't want to do this, and we would have just driven home.
For sure.
Another thing that I thought that was really interesting about Ponce, and frankly every single town in Puerto Rico, was that every single place, once you get out of the main town, every single house looks exactly the same, which is like really horrifying. Like, you feel like you're in an episode of Black Mirror or something where like there's no distinction between towns, so you're just driving aimlessly for like, and we did the entire, don't touch me and pretend to love me.
I do love you.
You called me rude and a brat.
You're not a brat.
You dare.
You're my sweet baby. And I love you.
Thanks. I'm not a brat at all.
Not even a little bit.
Anyway, so I think like as I've mentioned, you and I were driving from Ponce.
I was driving.
Yeah, Rob did most of the driving. We were driving from Ponce to another town.
Jessica doesn't have her license.
It's a blatant lie, but...
You got your license, it then was suspended.
Nope.
Tell the readers why your license was suspended.
It wasn't.
Alright, well, I'll edit this out.
Oh, was it because I drove on the ice skating rink that one time?
I'll edit this all out. Seamless editing.
I'm just kidding. That never happened. None of that happened.
It doesn't matter. I'm editing this out.
Anyway, so basically all the places look the same, and like we drove from Ponce to another town, and I was like, are we re-entering Ponce? Like it was creepy. And all the houses are like really fun. Like all of them were like hot pink and like navy blue. Like all of them were really cool, or royal blue, I guess, and like magenta and lavender. They're all the colors you could imagine were the colors of the houses, and they're all the same size and shape, and it's just like really, really surreal to drive through and see. Also, it was really interesting. There were a bunch of houses that were just built like on the mountainside of the rainforest.
Yeah.
But not even in clusters. Like, there were some
Nope.
that were like, we're a town within the rainforest, which I thought was really weird but kind of cool. There were just random individual houses, and then like you'd keep driving like 5 minutes, there'd be another house, then another 15 minutes, there'd be another house, and it's like, what the fuck is this? So seeing how people live in different places of the world is just so interesting, and again, the consistency that they had with the houses was so fucking cool. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
And yeah, I would have loved to see some of like the crazy like haciendas and shit, but we did not do that.
Yeah.
Because I know like people that have like their weddings and stuff, like our neighbors say they have family, and they all have haciendas, and we didn't see any of that, but we saw the normal people.
I think we saw a few when we were driving through to our or from our cave tour.
Maybe, but none that I could actually get like a look at.
Yeah, I mean we definitely didn't go inside any.
Like I saw a couple like long driveways, but I didn't see where they were leading up to and stuff, and like but most of what we saw I think was very like how the average person would live.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, hacienda usually means like an estate.
Yeah, for sure. But I usually like to see kind of
like a latifundium.
But when you're driving through New York, you see, there's so much variation in income.
It's pretty neat.
And there wasn't in Puerto Rico, which I thought was really interesting and different.
Yeah. Fun times.
They had stray cats everywhere.
They did.
Which I'm obsessed with. I think Greece was the worst I'd ever seen that had stray cats.
Weren't there more in Turkey and Egypt? There are definitely more in Egypt.
I don't remember seeing a single stray cat in Egypt.
Yeah.
There was stray everything in Egypt, though. There was stray, like, donkeys and camels and dogs. Like, I think there was stray everything in Egypt everywhere, but I think the amount of, like, it was just cats in Turkey and Greece, and I think... In my memory, it was the worst in Greece, but I could be wrong. But, yeah, there were a lot of stray cats in Puerto Rico, which I love. I love just petting random animals wherever I go. It feels like a treat. It makes me incredibly sad, obviously, but they seem to be taken care of.
Yeah, there was a place in Puerto Rico that was, I think, partnered with Petco that was Save a Gato, I think it was called, which gato is Spanish for cat. And we actually found the place itself, and they're responsible for catching, sterilizing, and then re-releasing, but feeding and providing homes for all of the cats in Puerto Rico.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Or at least San Juan.
That's amazing. I only remember that being a problem in San Juan. I didn't see any stray cats in Ponce, for example.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But we also, some random man was feeding pigeons, and he put pigeons on my arm.
Yeah, that's funny.
That was the worst feeling I've ever experienced. Those little claws on my arm it wasn't painful or uncomfortable.
Talons, darling.
It was just so unfamiliar, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? And it felt so weird.
You were the talons director.
It wasn't even, they're not talons, they're just claws.
Yeah, if it's on a bird, it's a talon.
Alright, well, again, nothing hurt.
I think, right?
But I don't think so. I think talons are specifically, like, predatorial birds.
You think to a bird of prey? Yeah, that might be true. Let's see.
I'd argue.
Pigeon anatomy.
Yeah, I don't think I could say that I had talons in my arm.
Yeah, maybe you couldn't. Let's see. Claw.
Okay, thank God.
And then also a tarsus or shank.
So I had their little baby claws. It just felt, and I could feel their wings flapping, and I could feel their wings rubbing against each other somehow. It was just a very odd feeling, and they were like, I don't even remember if they were heavy. It was just weird, but that was fun. And then Rob tried to feed them, so he put his leftovers on the ground for them to eat, and they like jumped into his plate and like swarmed him in a way that he did not anticipate happening. So that was really funny. So we both had a good pigeon experience in the main square.
It was a fun time.
You know what's interesting too? I was going to say about COVID, where you're saying I don't know what it's usually like.
Tell us.
Stop. All of the tourism pictures that you see, it's always like a girl alone.
Sure.
And like I saw a picture and it was like, oh, this is like must go to in Puerto Rico, and it was like the square that we went to get breakfast every morning with the pigeons.
Because they make their boyfriends take pictures of them.
Sure, but I'm saying that they're always alone. So I'm like, oh, when I see this beautiful square, it looks, first of all, so much bigger than it actually is because no one's in it. And it's way smaller than it looks in the picture. And also, again, everything looks completely deserted all the time. And I'm like, oh, it's like a private square.
You're funny.
And there were squares that you and I went to where there was only like a couple of people sitting on a bench or something, but like the main square in a town is usually relatively busy.
Yeah, they're usually popping.
Exactly. So, and like the ones that we went to in Puerto Rico were like it wasn't super poppin', but there were definitely, if I had wanted to get a photo alone, it would have been really hard.
Yeah.
So my conclusion is that travel bloggers are ruining my travel experience because they're fucking up reality.
They lie. It's like a
They
postcard.
do.
That's the point.
But
It's a 21st century postcard.
But when
you don't send a postcard of a pile of garbage.
when I look at a
crowded
travel
place.
blogger, I want to know, what is it like to go to Puerto Rico? I don't want to know what it's like.
That's not what sells. They sell you a fantasy. That's what makes a popular travel blogger. Because most people, if you read a travel blogger who's been 50 places, even if you're an intrepid traveler, you might go to 4 or 5 of those places based on their recommendations.
Yeah.
Most people read travel blogs for the escapism. You know, the same reason they watch the travel channel. They don't want to see... I mean, some people do, but most people don't want to see the reality. They want the fantasy, if they'll never end up going to this place, or B, if they do say, you know, this is where I want to go, they want to be sold the idea that they're going to have a wonderful time.
See, I feel the exact opposite. I'm like, I want to know what I should really be spending my... Like, if I had seen a travel blogger that was like, hey, Ponce is shit, don't go.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, thank you, God, that was great.
You're right.
A lot of Egypt, too. Like, everything is so...
If I had an honest appraisal of Santorini, we might not have gone to Greece, frankly.
Oh my God, Greece. And yeah, that's the thing. I think, like, we went to Greece and we got to Santorini and we were like, oh my God. Like, we had a bunch of moments where we just sat and we were just, like, talking about what the fuck happened. It would have been great. I don't understand.
Yeah, Santorini is the
most garbage place in the world.
Yeah, I think
Never
to get
go.
from... It's shaped like it's a crescent, like a moon. You know what a crescent is. A croissant, if you will. And it's, I think, from the north end where Ia is to the southern end. And there's really not much on the southern tip.
Like 2.5 hours?
Yeah, something like that. Maybe not quite that long.
It might be 2.5 hours walking.
No, because we walked from Thera to... Yeah. So I think driving, it's only like an hour. But it's a sizable enough island that it's not teeny tiny.
We did not rent a car, though.
No, but anyway, we did take a bus from one place to the other. So anyway,
yeah.
Regardless,
just to tell them.
Regardless, point being that it's not a tiny, tiny island, but the pictures that you always see of Santorini, of the white and blue capped buildings and those little churches, and like you said, a flowy dress and a girl in the white and blue and by the ocean, and that's God. Ia, and that's probably
Ia's tiny
with the
or Emerald Vaguely.
One of the two. The stretch of shops or buildings or houses or whatever that they take the pictures on, it's probably one of 3 or 4 buildings on a 100-yard stretch.
Also,
the entire town of Ia does kind of look like that, but it's A, very small, and B, there are parts of it that are, you know, dirty and kind of run down, and A, B, C, it's the streets are it's sidewalks. There are no cars there. 3 or 4 feet wide, and they are jam fucking packed with people.
Wait. You haven't even... First of all, also, they're only on one side of the island, too. Like, it's not even like, it's a town.
Ia is on the northmost tip of the island. That's the only place, really, that looks like that in Santorini. And again, it's a 100-yard strip on an island that's, I don't know, 10 miles long. The rest of the island...
is trash.
It almost looks like the third world.
Yeah.
There are donkeys just walking around willy-nilly. There are concrete frames of houses and buildings that are very clearly abandoned.
Another
There
point.
are just piles of garbage and donkey shit all over the place. Not all over the place, but pretty frequently, frankly.
Another point.
The beaches are very nice, but...
Another point. The domes, you're not allowed to go into them. You're not allowed to go near them. A lot of them are roped off. So the people that are taking pictures, they are either photoshopping the ropes out or they're like straight up just trespassing. Like, you're not allowed to do that.
There's people's homes or you know, churches that are not open except for 2 hours on a Sunday.
Because there were a couple of things, like, I really wanted to get the perfect shot and I'd have to step up on a roof and someone like...
Jessica climbed onto the roof of a church.
No, I didn't.
Didn't you?
I don't think so.
You did.
Okay, maybe I did. Also, for the photo
You did.
shoot. I did, yeah. But that didn't say don't climb.
I took 1,000 pictures of you doing it.
You did do that. But I meant there was someone's property and they I started climbing onto their roof, but they specifically had a sign that was like, hey, this is a home, please don't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. And like, I was respectful at that time, but most people aren't. Like, most people just fucking take pictures illegally. Also, it's super volcanic. Like, I expected it to be like this beach town, But it's volcano, and it's like the soil is like reddish and coarse and rocky.
Yeah, one of the beaches on the southern... There are two beaches on the southern tip. One of them is red sand.
Yeah.
From, like you said, kind of almost clay.
Yeah.
Detritus.
We should have gone to the red beach.
And no, the black one was way cooler. The black one is volcanic ash.
But we didn't go to the red one, so you can't say it's cooler.
So anyway,
the black beach was beautiful. I have nothing bad to say about it.
So anyway, yeah,
it was soft.
Those are very, very nice. But again, those are, very, very small portions of the island.
Yeah.
So it's not I mean, if you go to Santorini, it's not that hard to avoid the rest. But it's, to have a nice, pleasant, picturesque travel blog type Santorini vacation, you'd have to avoid 98% of the island.
And I think I like to travel, and I like to explore, and I like to adventure, and I like to really dig wherever I am, and I like to experience things. So the fact that it's like, there's a cool place, it's a 40, like if it's our rules, like if it's under an hour, we'll walk there or something. So I loved it. Like when we went to Paris and we walked for an hour in every direction, it was like so fun to explore the city. But in Greece, it was like, for 55 minutes it was a wasteland.
Yeah, that's the thing too.
Because I remember we did the hike, and it was really disgusting, and there'd be patches of resorts or like beauty, and then
right. So the hike, which they recommend being from Thera, which is in the middle of the island, north to south, to Ia, which is the northern tip.
It's not even the middle. It's like a little bit north. Still.
It's probably a little less than half the island. It's like 2.5, maybe 3 hours hiking.
Which I feel like they should have warned us that it was a little bit harder than...
It's not super easy. It's, a lot of... It
also was, like, on the cliffside. Like, they should have said it's a little dangerous regardless. So you
go and you start on this hike, and basically, again, not only is Santorini crescent shaped, but it's formed by a volcano exploded, and the caldera is this, it's the...
Which is pretty fun.
Now full of water, yeah. But so the island... It's basically shaped like a mountain, right? So it's very, very sloping on the west side and it's kind of sloping on the east side up to this cliff top where all the cities are kind of speckled. And so you go up to this city in the middle of the island and you start climbing up. And so you look to the left and you see the ocean, and that's very pretty. And you look to the right and you don't really see anything because it's very sloping. But you can kind of see the ocean once you get up high enough. And so the view from that is nice, but it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
And that's just the flat ocean, really. And then if you actually look down, it's not steep cliff, but it's in some parts it's pretty steep.
It's steep.
It's just barren dirt.
Yeah.
And occasional thorny looking bushes.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have the thorns.
With no leaves.
Yeah.
And you're just hiking through. You're basically
walking.
What
are those things called? The
tumbleweed?
Yes.
Yeah, they're just static tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
They're just weeds. It's you're hiking for 2.5 hours, let's say 3 hours. 2 hours and 40 minutes of that 3 hours is you just walking up a cliffside with dirt on either side of you. And there's no flora or fauna. You can see the ocean, which is nice, but it gets boring quickly.
Yeah.
And then occasionally you'll pass through a town.
What we thought was absolutely insane. The towns, when we got to a town, we would explore it for a little bit, which I thought was really fun. And we found that gorgeous church overlooking the ocean, which was like kind of
Rocky or something.
Yeah, which was like a random but beautiful find. But then also we saw, which was really funny, like you see all those pictures that people take from their resorts, and they say, you have a resort, you have your hotel room, and then you step out onto your balcony with that white wall.
Right.
You have like your own private pool, and then you overlook the ocean.
Yep.
But what they don't show you is that if you go and you stick your little head over that wall, you see the trail that Rob and I were walking. So like we literally turned our heads to the right, and you can see into people's hotel rooms.
It's not even if you go and stick your head over. Those walls are 2.5 feet tall.
Yeah, and like
it's someone's private room with sometimes a private bed out on a balcony or a very small little pool tub type thing.
Yep.
And then a wall to, demarcate the line of the property, right? That was waist high. And then the other side of the wall was the hiking trail.
Yeah.
I could have, without trying or without breaching any, I could have just held my arms out to either side, and I could have touched these people's beds.
Yeah.
Or their pool. Could have dipped my fingers in their pool. In these resorts that they're presumably paying like $600 a night for.
Yeah. And it wasn't... and we were saying, too, we were like, oh, wait a second, these resorts...
we're not the only people.
Yeah, the trails are pretty crowded.
The hiking trail it's kind of the thing to do in Santorini.
Yeah. A lot of people do it. And, like, I remember, because we were doing a photo shoot on the hike, so I remember, like, half the time my shirt was off because I like could not wear the clothes.
Yeah.
So I remember being very aware of every single time we would pass another person because I'd have to like throw my shirt back on, and there were a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
A lot. And then also the fact that you see those resorts that people are paying like $600 to $1,000 a night for, we said like there would be like nothing for like 10 minutes walking, and then you'd get to the like people just stay in the resorts the whole time because the resorts are in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yes.
It was crazy. And again, like once you get to Ia, which is the most populated big place or whatever, you look to the left and you see all these beautiful stores and like really expensive brand name shit, and then you look to the right and it's just desert, and people literally like, I remember we got done with one of our things, like we went on our boat tour and then we were like, okay, time to go home, and we started walking home and we ended up in this like desert garbage dump construction site, and we were like, wait, how the fuck do we get home? Like we just got lost there because people just ignore it. And like the whole island pretends it doesn't exist because whatever. So like we were trying to ask for help on how to get home and we couldn't even find anyone because it was just this like miles and miles of unused garbage land, and I was like, what the fuck? So we had to like circle back and go up this huge hill to get. Santorini was crazy, and again, if we had done what we did in Puerto Rico, although even in Puerto Rico we explored the whole island, but I feel like if we'd gone to Santorini, we'd just been like, okay, we're gonna do a shopping day in Ia, and then we're gonna spend the rest of the time in our resorts, we'll go to the pool for a minute, and then we'll like drive our personal car down to the black sand beach, and then we'll go right back home. Like that would have been a very pleasant trip, but like
it would have been boring as hell, man.
It would have been boring, and it would have frankly been a waste. It would have been a waste of so many things.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
we can talk for hours on Greece. We also went to Athens.
Yeah, we can save that for later.
No, we can. I'm just saying, to reel you in, we have a lot more to say.
Bit of a teaser.
Yeah.
Tune in next time. See you later, pod racers.
We're a travel blog now.
Okay.